No CP, playing a cultivation game adapted from a novel, unexpectedly dressed as a White Lotus supporting actress. He was also beaten by the male lead to break up his cultivation and become a useless person. Yao Ranran looked at the blacksmith shop she had brought with her and fell into contemplation. How to relieve worries? Only by becoming rich. Asterisk Demon Lord lures, foreign enemies attack, and the eastern wilderness is in turmoil. Yao Ranran's expression remained calm as she calmly opened the invincible turtle shell and eternal shield. Its 99,000 layers of defense shields are unbreakable, making it impossible for enemies to enter. She leisurely enjoyed the cool breeze and tea with the little tree spirit, watching the turbulence outside quietly. Everyone exclaimed in surprise, "Fairy is terrifying." Keywords of the novel. By Lianhua, female supporting character in the cultivation world only wants to become rich without pop-ups. By Lianhua, female supporting character in the cultivation world only wants to become rich. Download the complete text of the text, and by Lianhua, female supporting character in the cultivation world only wants to become rich. Read the latest chapter of the book. Chapter 1. Losing all cultivation at the beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Losing all cultivation at the beginning. Donghuang. Guling Mountain. A place of exile. The three of them flew for half a moment, and the thick black mist below grew heavier and heavier. There was no green in front of them. In the distance, a mountain peak stands tall and towering, with black clouds swirling around the mountainside. The mountain peak is steep, with no vegetation or human habitation. Here we go. On the red-billed crane, two men dressed in Taoist robes, one on the left and the other on the right, mercilessly threw the woman in the middle onto the uneven mountaintop. The woman won the weak, dressed in plain clothes, half supporting the ground, innocently turning her head, with eyes full of autumn water. Damn it! A male cultivator on the red-billed crane's eyes widened and he looked up and roared angrily, "Damn it!" "Don't scold," said his companion, Xiao, calmly holding onto him. "Why not curse? If you continue to curse, I will have to curse along with you. Jinjuan is not a man." "What kind of man are you? What kind of man are you?" The woman couldn't help but hum along. Two men in Taoist robes were stunned. The woman seemed to realize something, lowered her head slightly, closed her eyes, and sobbed softly. The two men instantly felt heartbroken. "Fairy Ranran, these are all the spirit stones on my body. You have helped me before. Please accept these 700 spirit stones." One of the men jumped down from the red-billed crane, took out the gray bag from his waist and stuffed it into the woman's hand. Yao Ranran quickly lifted her head, the corners of her eyes dry and without any tears. She tightly grabbed the bag in her hand and weakly declined, "I'm sorry, even though the environment here is extremely harsh, with no grass growing, lack of spiritual energy, and difficult to sustain life, I can't take all the spiritual stones from you." "It's okay. It's okay." The man watched as she grabbed the storage bag and withdrew her hand into his arms, silently feeling heartbroken. How can Fairy Ranran cultivate in such an environment? "I'm in a hurry this time, and I only have 300 spirit stones on my body. Please keep them safe, Fairy. If one day I can leave the Guling Mountain, there is a village 10 miles away. Fairy can use these spirit stones to take you to the city of cultivation. Maybe they can take you back on the path of cultivation." Both men in Taoist robes gave her a spirit stone. Yao Ranran silently put two pieces of spirit stones together, tightened the storage bag, and said, "Thank you for the help of the two senior brothers. I don't know whose names the two senior brothers are. After Ranran leaves Guling Mountain, I will definitely thank and repay them." The two men looked at each other with a smile and left their names behind. "My name is Hu Zhongli. My name is Wu Changda." Yao Ranran once again expressed gratitude and said, "Thank you very much, Senior Brother Hu. The spirit stone that Senior Brother Wu gave me will definitely be remembered by Ranran." I will return to the Wuxiang sect to repay my kindness in the future. Speaking of the three characters Wuxiangzong, Hu Zhongzhong and Wu Changde both changed their faces. It's getting late, we should go back and report. Hu Zhongli signaled to Wu Changde. Wu Changde said dryly, yes, Fairy Ranran, we should go now. Yao Ranran nodded and said, you two senior brothers have a good journey. Jumping onto the red-billed crane, Hu Zhongli controlled the spirit crane to fly away. Entering the Guling Mountain, how could there be a rebirth? The first fairy of the Wuxiang sect has also fallen into this situation. Wu Changde sighed. Hu Zhongzhong patted his shoulder with one hand and said, you did a great job. You left a little memory for Fairy Ranran, so that you wouldn't sit inside the broken temple and have no hope of living until death. Yao Ranran couldn't even hear these words. She looked at the flying red-billed crane and stood up neatly, patting her buttocks and muttering, the timing of this time's journey is not bad. Stay away from the female lead and cultivate immortality alone. It's really wonderful. She is a traveler who follows the crowd. On a rainy night with lightning and thunder, she was enraged in a cultivation game adapted from the novel Delicate Cultivation Letters. Unfortunately, she was struck by a lightning bolt, and in the next second, her whole body was whipped, crossing over to the White Lotus female supporting character with the same name and surname. At this time, the original protagonist Yao Ranran's identity as a childhood female protagonist was exposed by the male protagonist Shen Yu. As the first true ruler of Zhongzhou, Shen Yuefu was extremely angry. With a palm strike, Yao Ranran, who was originally expected to become a pill maker, instantly lost all her cultivation and became a useless person. The original owner Yao Ranran's faith collapsed, and she took advantage of the opportunity to enter well. Actually she didn't do anything and just got a new body in a daze, suffering for the White Lotus girl. Yao Ranran looked at the dilapidated Taoist temple not far away and touched her slightly painful chest. The palm print left by Shen Yuefu has not completely disappeared. This is the Guling Mountain Taoist temple in the game, I will have to live here in the future. Yao Ranran's mouth curved into a pure smile. On the right side of her waist hangs a bulging cloth bag, inside which something seems to be moving around. Yao Ranran patted it, shook something out of her sleeve and held it in her hand. She then took out a mask from her arms and put it on her face, walking straight into the dilapidated Taoist temple. Yao Ranran raised the oval-shaped object in her hand and aimed it at the Taoist temple, where a spray of thick green mist emerged from the small object. She quickly blocked the door with her body, which was a big hole. The dense green mist filled the entire Taoist temple. Let me out. Let me out. At this moment, the small cloth bag on the right side of her waist struggled even more fiercely, making human noises. Yao Ranran quickly stopped, don't come out. The cloth bag shattered and a green elf flew out. His tender little face wore a resolute determination to die. I, the banyan tree spirit, swear not to be a slave. You, the little elf had not had time to say anything else before falling to the ground the next second. His face turned green, as if he had been poisoned. His small body kept twitching and occasionally made a nauseating sound. You, what did you do? I am the banyan tree spirit, you, a lifetime, never, ever smelled so foul-smelling. You, the banyan tree spirit has failed. Yao Ranran murmured softly, how smelly is this? You can tell from his expression. Human beings, don't try to confront thousands of skunks' farts. Squeaky, Yao Ranran leaned against the door, and several bats hanging from the crossbeam of the Taoist temple fell to the ground one after another. After a moment, she picked up the small banyan tree spirit and opened the gate of the Taoist temple, dispersing the dense green mist. When the sky was as dark as ink, she dared to take off the gas mask on her face. Breath fresh air, it hasn't fully arrived yet. Yao Ranran's face turned green and she ran to the edge of the cliff, gasping for breath. Fortunately, at this point, the dense green mist was almost transparent, and the toxic gas was very weak and could be ignored. She walked up to the banyan tree spirit and watched as his face gradually changed to a normal color, gently patting his face. There hasn't been any movement yet, the poisoning is too deep. It seems like we can only recover tomorrow. This banyan tree spirit was picked up by her on the road. At that time, she was very ignorant. The original owner didn't leave her much, her mind was clean and empty. Cute new author kneels for tickets, dong dong. Omega, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Stealing Trees. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Stealing Trees. So she thought that the plot of escaping while taking advantage of the situation in TV dramas could be truly realized. She saw that her two senior brothers had a good attitude towards her, and under the pretext of solving the problem, she shyly ran into the small forest. As a result, I collided with this banyan tree spirit. At that time, he was spiritualizing. Yao Ranran saw with sharp eyes. A small green man emerged from a tree. So, she stole the tree that gave birth to him. He took away his body that was undergoing spiritual transformation with a cloth bag. So, her plan to escape failed. Shamelessly being cute on the road, the two senior brothers did not search for what was in her cloth bag. Yao Ranran successfully brought him here. However, before he could use this little tree spirit, he fell to the ground from poisoning. Yao Ranran stared at his body for a moment and said, "Go to sleep. I'll sleep well tonight, and I'll have enough energy to work tomorrow." She turned around and hugged the banyan tree spirit back to the dilapidated Taoist temple, placing him alone in a room, and went to the outer room to tidy up the small bat that had been collectively smoked unconscious. Demon Bat, noise expert, can use sound waves to kill invisibly. This is the introduction of the demon bat that Yao Ranran saw while playing the game. As the plot developed to the point where the story of Bai Lianhua impersonating was exposed, she was extremely excited as a reader and happened to remember this special Guling Mountain Taoist temple. As a result, she begged her two senior brothers to collect the stinky farts of thousands of spirit weasels for her on the way. For the sake of survival, not shabby. As for this gas mask, she casually made it by pulling the bark of the banyan tree spirit. The demon bat landed on her hand, and Yao Ranran's mind moved, causing the demon bat to disappear. She quickly picked up the corpse of the demon bat in the Taoist temple and walked into the room opposite the banyan tree spirit. She closed the door, which was shaking and making a creaking sound of disrepair. But it doesn't matter, there are no other living creatures here except for her and the banyan tree spirit. Yao Ranran raised her hand and waved, and the scene of the small house changed instantly, becoming a blacksmith's room. This is the blacksmith shop I bought in the game. A shop without a gold upgrade. It's really simple. There was only one oven, hammer, bellows, anvil, sink, and a piece of soil she picked up from somewhere in the gaming world. On the far left is the body of the banyan tree she stole, and under the tree is the body of the demon bat that she just picked up. Yao Ranran summoned the store panel, and all the information about the blacksmith shop was displayed in front of her. Blacksmith shop level 1 upgrade required spirit stone. 0/1000 proficiency. 0 out of 1000, there is a chance to use the next level of magic at the highest proficiency level, binder. Yao Ranran newly added refining equipment drawings. Gas mask, skunk bag. 1,000 spirit stones, I happen to have. Yao Ranran hesitated for a moment and realized that the spirit stone could not be used up at once. Money begets money, regenerated money. Use these as capital first, earn the first bucket of gold, and then upgrade the blacksmith shop. With this thought in mind, she waved and removed the blacksmith's panel information, scattered the only piece of soil under the roots of the banyan tree, and picked up the water from the sink and poured it on top. The lazy and scattered banyan tree at night suddenly came to life, and tender buds quietly peeked out of its branches with small heads. The green banyan tree spirit in the room suddenly moved her little finger, smashed her mouth, and flipped over to sleep in an extremely beautiful sleep. Yao Ranran was completely oblivious to these things. The banyan tree has a tall trunk and dense leaves, and she couldn't even see these small changes at a glance. Alright, it's time to go to bed. She lay down in place, hands crossed on her chest, looking at the green patch above her head, and happily closed her eyes. Next time, she must sleep in bed. The sky is hazy and bright. Yao Ranran opened her eyes. She stretched lazily, tidied up her appearance briefly, washed her face with water from the sink, and then walked out of the room. A little green person with diced radish blocked her way. "I swear not to be a slave, young master," said the banyan tree spirit with her hips crossed and her teeth bared. Yao Ranran's expression remained unchanged as she crouched down and pinched his face. "I am an alchemist, and I have a fire spirit root," she said. The banyan tree spirit slowly put down her cross-legged hand, her legs softened, and hugged her legs, saying, "Don't kill me. I am the first day to become a spirit, I am still young, I don't understand. Woo-woo, well behaved, I know you're like me. This is your first time here, and I won't kill you. I can even give you freedom," Yao Ranran said in the gentlest tone as she gently patted his head. The banyan tree spirit was lost and believed in this woman. "You are such a good person." Banyan tree spirit was overjoyed. "Just." Yao Ranran frowned slightly. The banyan tree spirit's eyes were bewildered, and her heart twitched. "What is it?" Yao Ranran scraped his small nose and smiled, "I have your body in my hands. If you want to take it, take the spirit stone to redeem yourself. The rules in this industry are all purple drops." The banyan tree spirit's face was wrinkled into a ball. He was just a tree and had never heard of such rules in the hallway. However, now that the woman has her body in her hands, it is normal for her to want some spirit stones. Human beings are all greedy. How many spirit stones do we need to redeem ourselves? He clenched his small fist and asked earnestly, looking up his head. Yao Ranran smiled slightly and slowly extended a finger. The banyan tree spirit widened her eyes and took a step back from her calves. 1 or 1,000,000 spirit stones. Yao Ranran blinked. This little tree spirit is quite confident. 1,000,000 spirit stones can buy over 200 of them. The variety of banyan trees is average and easy to raise, with many being tree spirits that transform into spirits. In the gaming market, a 10,000-year-old banyan tree can be purchased with only 7,000 spirit stones. This banyan tree spirit looks less than 10,000 years old, and when it's sold outside, no one wants even 7,000 spirit stones. Watching Yao Ranran not say no, the banyan tree spirit squatted alone in the corner of the wall, holding a small branch and drawing on the ground non-stop. "Since I became aware of it, I have stored 300 spirit stones in my stomach, which is equivalent to storing 100 stones in 1,000 years. I can store 10,000 stones in 10,000 years. After that, I will be able to store 1,000,000 stones." Yao Ranran said, "Why is there something wrong with the sound? Only 100 exist in 1,000 years, where did 1,000,000 come from in 100,000 years? And can she live to 100,000 years from now? She's not a tree." Cough cough. "Little tree spirit, you can give me the 300 spirit stones in your hand first, and I will take them outside to earn money. We will earn 91% of the money. I have been making money, and you will continue to have money. You will soon be able to save 1,000,000 spirit stones, without waiting for 100,000 years of spicy food. Draw a big cake first and get this tree spirit." This statement has a miraculous effect on the young tree spirit who has just entered the world. The banyan tree spirit blinked with anticipation and said, "Really? Can I give up these 300 spirit stones to gain freedom ahead of time?" Yao Ranran nodded heavily and said, "That's right, I dare to swear to heaven that as long as you hand over these 300 spirit stones, it won't take you 100,000 years, or even 10,000 years, you can gather enough spirit stones and obtain freedom." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Peaceful and Ominous Villages. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 3. Peaceful and ominous villages. The banyan tree fairy opened her mouth wide and said, "Can't we use it for 10,000 years?" "That's right, it won't be used for 10,000 years. What are you waiting for? It's better to take action than to be tempted. After this village, there won't be this shop anymore. Now, just give me these 300 spirit stones." Yao Ranran spoke passionately and reached out to the banyan tree spirit. He quickly peeled off his stomach and took out the precious spirit stone that had been stored for 3,000 years. "I believe you, as an alchemist, you can definitely earn a lot of money." The banyan tree spirit was filled with passion from her words, as if she could attain freedom in the next second. Yao Ranran nodded slightly like an expert and put the spirit stone into the storage bag. "Okay, we should set off and go down the mountain to make money." "Yeah, that's great." Banyan tree spirit jumped 3 feet high. From Guling Mountain to the mountainside below, thick black clouds roll over. There is a raging evil energy filling inside, and no living creatures can pass through there. Even if the banyan tree spirit was not clear about what was in the dark clouds, the innate sense of vigilance in his bloodline made him realize that it was impossible to walk directly down. Yao Ranran looked at the opposite mountain peak, calculated the distance, and felt that the height was quite good. She asked the banyan tree spirit to extend its vines and connect to the opposite mountain peak, like riding a cable car, pulling his vines down and sliding down. Hu Zhongzhong and Wu Changda could never have imagined that the next day, Yao Ranran walked out of Guling Mountain, which others could never leave for a lifetime. The black cloud at the foot of Guling Mountain actually has a no-fly effect. When they brought Yao Ranran here, they carried special tokens that could resist the black cloud's no-fly effect. Yao Ranran stumbled down the mountain. Banyan tree spirit took a slow step and followed behind. Finally down the mountain. Yao Ranran opened her arms and embraced the scenery below. The banyan tree spirit's nostrils twitched and frowned. The smell emitted by these companions is strange. Yao Ranran heard his words and looked around. Everything was lush, without feeling anything wrong. "Senior brother Wu said there is a village 10 miles away, let's go over quickly." She ran excitedly towards the location of the village. The banyan tree spirit was determined to be free, so she quickly shook off her strange thoughts and ran with Yao Ranran. Jia Jia Jia, a cultivator, a tree spirit, a great tonic. In the dense grass, a dark shadow emitted eerie laughter. In this blue and white sky, it looks particularly gloomy. "Oh, this village looks uninhabited, with spiders crawling all over the beams." Yao Ranran walked to the door of a house and looked around. The white spider web weaves in every corner, and from time to time, foolish little insects fall on it, quickly wrapping themselves up into balls. The banyan tree spirit trembled and said, "It's strange. It's so cold here, there's no one around, and it doesn't look like there are people at all." Yao Ranran glanced at him and saw that a tree was afraid that the village would be deserted and looked very strange. "However, it is indeed quite eerie here. Let's go to the next village to take a look, maybe they have all relocated. I think it's getting colder here. Let's leave quickly." The banyan tree fairy nodded as if pecking at rice. Yao Ranran turned around and looked directly at a dark figure behind the banyan tree spirit. Black Shadow had 2 eyes and 2 pointed teeth, staring at her with a gloomy expression. No wonder he's cold. With such a big fog sticking behind him, can he not be cold? "Hurry up!" Yao Ranran shouted and grabbed the banyan tree spirit before throwing it into the room. At the same time, the skunk's pouch slid out of its sleeve robe, and with such a pinch in its hand, a thick green mist sprayed out towards the foggy face. He gave a disdainful smile. "Jia Jia Jia." The ghost mist stood and drifted 3 zhang away. The poison of the spirit weasel, a cunning woman. If Ghost Mist had a face, his complexion would be iron blue at this moment. Inside the house, Yao Ranran pressed the door and looked nervous. This world is too real. The banyan tree spirit poked out a little vine and saw the ghostly mist outside through the crack in the door. It froze in place and its voice trembled as it said, "What is that thing? When did it appear?" He looked up at Yao Ranran beside him and suddenly calmed down. I saw Yao Ranran's expression calm and composed, completely devoid of paying attention to the fog outside. The banyan tree spirit suddenly remembered what she had said before. She was an alchemist and had a fire spirit root, so she could definitely restrain the ghosts and fog outside. The banyan tree spirit has calmed down. Yao Ranran let out a light breath. One will die, either as light as a feather or heavier than Mount Tai. What's wrong with being a dead swan feather? Perhaps the next time she is reincarnated, she will be born into a wealthy family. Fight it. Guewu squinted his eyes and looked at the dense green mist, whispering in a gloomy tone, "Jia jia jia, you dare only use hidden weapons to sneak attack. There must be no other tricks." He grew rapidly, his body swelled into a ball, spewed out a large black mist, blew out a clear path, and rushed over. Creak. Yao Ranran suddenly opened the door, and a 9-lotus ring chopped down. A holy white light suddenly appeared, and the 9-lotus flower Dharma appeared. The smile on the misty face stopped at the corner of her mouth, and her body automatically split in half, no longer breathing. How? How could? Guewu stared incredulously. This woman playing as a pig and eating a tiger. Yao Ranran blinked in confusion and said, "Did you win the bet? Kill the duck. Kill it." The banyan tree spirit threw out several branches, all of which were hollowed out. He watched a black bead fall to the ground and was immediately stunned. Has Ghost Mist died? Yao Ranran looked at the black pearl on the ground and, with the spirit of being careful to sail a ship for thousands of years, poked the banyan tree spirit beside her. Use your branches to pick up this pearl. At this moment, the banyan tree spirit was full of energy, completely unaware of Yao Ranran's worries. She happily rolled up the black bead and handed it to her eyes. Is this the essence of ghost cultivation? This should be worth a lot of spirit stones. Unfortunately, I didn't do it myself. The bright eyes of the banyan tree suddenly dimmed. Yao Ranran saw his unharmed appearance and took the black bead. These are really like foggy eyes. She murmured while playing with the black beads. The banyan tree spirit also noticed this and said, "Yes, it's so ugly." Yao Ranran nodded in agreement and said, "If there's a chance, sell it. The distribution of the spirit stone will still be one of me, 9 of you." When Yao Ranran walked forward for a while, the banyan tree spirit still stood there dumbfounded. She's such a great person. I didn't do anything and was able to get 10% of the spirit stone. It's really amazing. Several branches sprouted from behind him, applauding joyfully. Jumping and jumping, he followed Yao Ranran to the next village. After climbing a mountain, the sun is almost setting. One person and one spirit nibbled on the randomly picked wild fruits and walked into the new village. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. 50 Years of Secret Cultivation, Amazing Everyone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. 50 Years of Secret Cultivation, Amazing Everyone, How Quiet. The afterglow of the setting sun stretched out the figures of the two, and the banyan tree spirit followed closely with Yao Ranran, looking around in fear. Yao Ranran nodded, feeling that what he said made sense. Unlike the previous village, all the houses in this village are tightly closed with no trees planted, and even the growing weeds have traces of being pulled out. The world of cultivating immortals, curious and strange. After passing through half of the village, she finally saw an old lady ahead. The old lady sat by the campfire, nibbling on unknown cakes. "Grandma, may I ask if there is a county town nearby? How should I get to the county?" Yao Ranran politely asked with a well-behaved smile. The cake crumbs in the old lady's mouth fell all over the ground. She put down the cake in her hand and wiped her eyes. Is this the nine heavens fairy who has descended from the mortal world? Or did the monster come to claim his life? Are you a demon or a fairy? The old lady asked. Banyan Tree Spirit and Yao Ranran were both stunned at the same time, and she replied, I am a human, he is a tree spirit. Tree spirit. The old lady glanced at the proud Banyan Tree Spirit, her face suddenly changed. Hurry up, where are you from? The sun is about to set, you can't stay in this village. Yao Ranran and Banyan Tree Spirit were startled by her fierce reaction. Is there any problem with this village? Yao Ranran asked. The old lady made excessive movements and dodged to her waist. She sat back on the stone pier, her face full of vicissitudes, and her tone was heavy with pain. The villages of these 10 miles and 8 townships have all been cursed. Now only our Longing village is left, and there are still a few elderly people who haven't left. Hurry up and run, there's dirt in the village. Every time the sun sets, it sprays black mist and eats the bodies of the villagers. Black mist. Banyan Tree Jing hesitated for a moment. The thing sprayed out by that ghostly mist just now is black mist. Yao Ranran also thought of the fog just now, but he came out in broad daylight. Her mind turned rapidly, and according to the old lady's words, there were not many living people nearby, so this matter could only be asked of her. The old lady stood up and picked up the cane next to them as she saw them still standing there. She knocked at them and said, Go, 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 leave this cursed village. Yao Ranran's movement of pulling out the black bead was interrupted, and the Banyan Tree Spirit's sharp-eyed elongation of the branch pulled out the black bead. Grandma, take a look. Is this the ghost fog that caused chaos in your village? What? What kind of thing? The old lady was stunned and saw the bead clearly. That's right, that's right. It's its eyes, I've seen it once. The old lady was extremely excited, her shoulders trembling uncontrollably. She looked at the black bead and then turned to look at Yao Ranran's appearance. Are you the one who killed this evil creature? Mother, my child has been practicing outside for 50 years and finally returned. Our great revenge will be avenged. Evil will surely die. A white-bearded old man stood at the entrance of the village in the backlight, holding a sword with one hand and tears glistening in his eyes. The old lady held the black bead and suddenly felt that there was no need to let this child embark on the path of cultivation back then. Oh my God! I miss you so much. The old man with white beard burst into tears and threw himself into the arms of the old lady. His voice choked up and he said, Mother, the child must kill the evil that harmed the villagers and avenge his father. Avenge all the dead villagers. That. The old lady wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes and pushed him away. Let me introduce you to him. He is the life-saving benefactor of our village, and the evil has already died. Woo-woo. What? The old man with white beard sniffed and widened his eyes. Is this the Nine Heavens fairy? Yao Ranran raised her hand and said, Let's debunk a rumor online. I'm not a fairy from the Nine Heavens, I'm just an ordinary little beauty. Sigh. She shook her head and sighed. Banyan Tree Spirit gave her a sideways glance. The old man with white beard was stunned. Although he couldn't understand what online debunking meant, he realized that the evil had already died. He took a deep breath and said, Are you also a cultivator? Yao Ranran tilted her head and placed her jade finger on her lower lip, thinking, I guess so, why not? The Banyan Tree Spirit rolled its eyes wide. The old lady led the old man with white beard and immediately made a splash, kneeling down on both knees. The benefactor is above, please accept our 500 villagers from Longing village to pay their respects. As they lowered their heads, a vine wrapped around them, stabilizing their figure. The mother and son were stunned for a moment. Yao Ranran shook her head and said, It's too early to say that now. There may be more than one evil spirit, let's talk about it after tonight. The benefactor is right, mother. Let's go tidy up the house and ask the benefactor to stay. The old man with white beard tightly grasped the old lady's hand and looked at them gratefully. The old lady wiped away her moved tears and whispered, "Okay, okay, our village is saved." After a few people entered the room and had a conversation, Yao Ranran roughly understood the situation here. This place is called Longyin Village. 100 years ago, it was once the most prosperous village in 8 townships within 10 miles. However, according to the grandmother's recollection, her mother only got married when suddenly a family of 4 mysteriously disappeared, and no one knew where they had gone. The village chief sighed regretfully, saying that the couple had finally grown old and hoped to have a son, but suddenly lost their lives. 5 years later, the mist came and someone found a long life lock in the collapsed Li family's empty house, engraved with the name of the youngest son of the Li family. Then, the next night, someone was devoured by the black mist and died, with no bones left. Rumors spread that the youngest son of the Li family would come back to claim his life, causing panic among the villagers. During these 100 years, they invited many Taoists to come and eliminate evil spirits, and then they were all left with nothing left by the ghost and fog, and everyone lost their thoughts. Moving, fleeing. The nearby villages are gradually declining. Longyin village is no longer bustling as before. Now there are only 5 elderly people left in Longyin village, including my son, said Grandma Zhang. Jiang Xingxiang lit the oil lamp and sighed, "In my generation, there are no more children who will stay here. In order to save my life and to avenge the evil, 50 years ago, my mother sent me, who was 8 years old, to the nearest Yanlong County and became a disciple of a Taoist. After 50 years of cultivation, the Taoist sect declined, and I returned to my hometown, thinking of avenging the villagers. But I didn't expect to meet my benefactor, and the evil has been killed by him." Jiang Xingxiang looked at her gratefully. Yao Ranran felt embarrassed as she touched her head and said, "I happened to bump into it. It wanted to eat us, so I killed it." Before taking action, she didn't know she had this ability either. Listen to them, this ghost fog seems quite powerful. The 9 Lotus ring is a magical tool that the original owner cultivated in the elixir field. Even though his cultivation had dissipated at that time, this magical tool was still not forced out. She only discovered this after secretly practicing. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. I'm not. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. I'm not. Zhongzhou is several 100,000 miles away from Donghuang, and it took Hu Zhongzhong and his 2 people nearly 4 months just to bring her here. During this period, she learned about her golden finger and found a tattered martial arts book under the sink. It is called 1,000 Layers of Qi Refining Classic. Thinking that her mind was empty and she had no physical possessions, she secretly practiced without any hesitation. Even now, I don't know how strong I am. However, dealing with a little ghost fog doesn't seem to be very difficult. The benefactor is humble. I don't know where the benefactor learned from or where they came from. Jiang Xingxiang asked with a hopeful expression on his face. Yao Ranran didn't know what his expression meant, so she said half truthfully and half falsely, "I am Sanxiu, from Guling Mountain." Guling Shan. A self-taught genius. Jiang Xingxiang shook his hands. Grandma Zhang's weathered eyes were also frightened into being round and big. Is the Guling Mountain mentioned by the benefactor the one 10 miles away? Yao Ranran and Banyan Tree Jing nodded together. Grandma Zhang and Jiang Xingxiang looked at each other and finally believed her words. This woman looks extraordinary, not as beautiful as the people here. It's normal for her to have this adventure. A few people were chatting, and the night passed. Nothing happened. A few days later. The smoke from Longyin village's cooking is curling up, and the only few households left can hear laughter and joy. Jiang Xingxiang led the only big yellow ox in the village and set up a small car, allowing Yao Ranran and the other 2 to sit on it. Grandma Zhang and the remaining villagers bid farewell to each other from a distance at the village entrance, only to withdraw their gaze when their backs completely disappeared. If it weren't for this benefactor, our Longyin village would never have achieved peace. Jiang Xingxiang was in a great mood, humming cheerful songs all the way. The ox cart swayed for half a day, and the three of them arrived in Yanlong County. Ranran, this is the only cultivator shop in Yanlong County, Baibao Pavilion. Jiang Xingxiang put away the ox cart and led them along the bluestone road to the central block. The three characters of Baibao Pavilion, dragon flying and phoenix dancing, showcased the proud attitude of the store owner. Banyan Tree Spirit shook her head regretfully and said, "The conditions here are far worse than ours." "Where is Rongyi referring to?" Jiang Xingxiang asked cautiously. Fairy Ranran has a snowy appearance and an unpredictable cultivation. She carries a tree spirit servant with her, and her identity is definitely not as simple as she claims. "Oh, Gu Lingshan Sanxiu. Who believes it?" Jiang Xingxiang covered his mouth and chuckled for his wit. Banyan Tree Spirit looked at him with a strange expression on her face. Yao Ranran gave a glance. The Banyan Tree Spirit must have heard the conversation between Hu Zhongzhong and the others on the way to exile. But this matter is not honorable, speaking it out will only make people wary of themselves. The Banyan Tree Spirit thought of this layer and quickly changed the topic. "Don't delay the time, let's quickly go in and change the spirit stone." He rubbed his small hands and looked eager. Jiang Xingxiang casually invited them in. The shopkeeper of Baibao Pavilion heard the commotion and didn't even lift his eyelids, moving his abacus on his own. The sound of the beads hitting each other was a bit harsh. Jiang Xingxiang's face remained calm as he raised his voice and said, "Manager's son, this time I brought you a big client." Shopkeeper's son raised his eyelids slightly and quickly scanned the three of them. "Banyan Tree Spirit is not accepted, this thing is not selling well recently." "What? Your grandfather's?" "Rongyi, I won't sell it." Banyan Tree Spirit was insulted and jumped onto his counter, trampling and cursing wildly. Jiang Xingxiang quickly picked him up. The shopkeeper's son looked bewildered. This is the first time he has seen such a dragging tree spirit. Not selling tree spirits, that's selling. Is this woman the main customer? Shopkeeper's son swallowed his saliva. If the transaction was with her, it would definitely be a big deal. Yao Ranran felt an unfriendly gaze. She frowned, raised her hand to stop the farce, and took out a cloth bag containing the corpse of the demon bat and threw it on the counter. "Shopkeeper's son, how much spirit stones are these demon bats worth?" "Monster bat." Son, the shopkeeper, paused for a moment and shifted his gaze to the cloth bag. He looked at it carefully for a long time, sniffed it slowly, and finally nodded, saying, "That's right, it's indeed a demon bat. This pile of quantities is quite substantial, worth this amount." He popped out a finger. The Banyan Tree Spirit was overjoyed and said, "Is it enough to earn 1,000,000 spirit stones so easily?" Yao Ranran and Jiang Xingxiang were shocked. Shopkeeper's son stumbled and almost fell. He quickly explained, "This means a spirit stone. These demon bats can sell a total of 1 spirit stone." Yao Ranran was stunned and said, 100 or so demon bats can only sell 1 spirit stone. This is too far from the price difference in her heart. Son, the shopkeeper, showed a regretful expression on his face and said, "Friend Dao, you can see that you have easily obtained so many demon bat corpses. You should know that this thing is not worth money and is of little use. A female cultivator who practices 1 level of qi, a tree spirit who practices 3 levels of qi, and an old cultivator who practices 5 levels of qi. It's not worth mentioning. This demon bat is one of the essential accessories for the 3rd level nourishing pill, and the lowest market price is 5 spirit stones per one. If we run into 3 unjust leaders now and don't take a hard hit, he won't be Sun Pippi." Yao Ranran shook her head and said, "I won't sell a spirit stone anymore." She's going to see a big city. This small shop bullies people. Hey, wait. Seeing that she was really going to leave, shopkeeper's son quickly held down the cloth bag. Well, tell me where you caught these demon bats, and I'll give you 10 spirit stones. Yao Ranran still has to leave. She couldn't even look up to 10 spirit stones. Shopkeeper's son stomped his feet and gritted his teeth, 30 spirit stones. There can't be more. Yao Ranran glanced at him. The shopkeeper's son smiled with a hint of certainty at the corner of his mouth and said, "How about selling now?" "You stepped on my robe." Yao Ranran pulled out the cloth bag from his hand. Shopkeeper's son awkwardly smiled and withdrew his outstretched foot. Yao Ranran turned her head and left with the two of them. "Son," the shopkeeper quickly shouted, "Fairy, please stay. 50 spirit stones, 50 spirit stones. I'll spit blood and buy them." The impoverished backs of Yao Ranran and her companions were resolute. "Son," the shopkeeper suddenly changed his face behind him. "Toast, don't eat, fine. Miss, someone has come to Baibao Pavilion to cause trouble." Boss' son turned his head and ran into the back door of the Baibao Pavilion. Yao Ranran and the others turned around in confusion. Which play is he playing? A little later, a pretty woman rushed out with several male cultivators. "Who dares to cause trouble in our Baibao Pavilion?" Jiang Xingxiang squeezed behind Yao Ranran and whispered, "Fairy Ranran, this woman is the daughter of the leader of the Bailu sect behind the Baibao Pavilion, Zhou Lily." Zhou Lily saw the most beautiful woman among the three at a glance. Build a layer of qi. How weak. But this appearance is rare to see. Surprisingly, he still surpasses himself by a few points. What an extraordinary appearance of a Huahua man. "Are you causing trouble at Baibao Pavilion?" Yao Ranran quickly denied Sanlian and said, I'm not. It's manager's son talking nonsense." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. You Are My God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. You Are My God. Since you have come to our Baibao Pavilion, there is absolutely no reason not to do business. Zhou Lily turned a blind eye to her words and said, I have heard what you said to manager son from behind. If you don't sell 50 spirit stones, would you be willing to sell 10,000 spirit stones as disciples of the Bailu sect? What? Jiang Xingxiang was dumbfounded. The little demon bat is not worth 10,000 spirit stones. Moreover, the Biliu sect is still the largest sect in Shiyan City. Grandma Zhang used all means and methods to fail to send him in as an external disciple, just because his qualifications were too poor. Now Yao Ranran is just selling a demon bat, and she has the identity of a sect leader's daughter adding money to give to her inner disciple. What a comparison between people. Jiang Xingxiang's face was suddenly filled with cows. Yao Ranran was stunned. She's not the female lead. Is there such a good thing in the world that can be brought to her doorstep? Don't sell. Don't sell. Boss Ranran, let's go. Banyan Tree Spirit secretly rejoiced. Whispered to Yao Ranran, Boss, let's go. They will definitely raise the price for us later. He has already seen through these people's methods. I didn't expect Lingxia to be so easy to earn. Yao Ranran suddenly felt uneasy. Is she really going to raise the price? Zhou Lily's face changed behind him, and he said calmly, if you don't eat something soft, you must force me to be hard. The banyan tree spirit looked at the strong man in front of him, his hair exploding. Boss, it seems like they don't want to raise the price anymore. Jiang Xingxiang shook his body and said, yes, actually 10,000 spirit stones are also quite good. Let's sell them. Right, I think the same way. Rong Shujing smiled and clapped her hands. It's late. Take them all down for me. Zhou Lily said arrogantly. It's over, barbecue. Jiang Xingxiang and Rong Shujing were frightened and rushed towards Yao Ranran's side. Yao Ranran silently pulled out the 9 lotus rings and said to Zhou Lili, 10,000 spirit stones, I am willing to join the Bailu sect. Zhou Lili casually dug out her ear with her little finger and said, what are you saying? I can't hear you. This woman. Banyan Tree Jing clenched her small fist, her angry little face bulging. Oh hey, she doesn't want to give money anymore. Jiang Xingxiang understood her meaning. This is to hire a genius to join the Bailu sect for free. Several male cultivators who surrounded them showed different smiles. They swaggered closer to Yao Ranran and the 3 of them, pulled out their shiny swords from their waists. Jiang Xingxiang and Rong Shujing, who were swaying, closed their eyes together. Boss, help me. Bang bang. Centered around Yao Ranran, a large white lotus bloomed. What a dazzling light. Zhou Lili couldn't help but hold his head back and block the dazzling light with his hand. Poo 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 poo. Several voices fell, and the light gradually weakened. Zhou Lili turned his head. Instantly, his mouth opened wide and he said, How could they all fall down? She looked at the shopkeeper's son with questioning eyes, only to see that he was already wet from the bottom, his eyes turned white, and he fell to the ground without getting up. After hearing nothing, Banyan Tree Spirit and Jiang Xingxiang opened their eyes and felt an extremely holy white light next to them, making them both physically and mentally convinced. They couldn't help but want to believe in this light and follow it. Boss, you are my god. The 2 of them knelt down together. Yao Ranran looked at the scene where only she was facing Zhou Lili, scratching her head for some unknown reason. Is she so powerful? Just now, I just pulled out a set of 9 lotus rings. Zhou Lili's alarm rang loudly in her heart, suppressing her desire to escape. Her voice trembled and she said, Which family's disciple are you from? Report your name. Yao Ranran blinked her confused eyes and replied, Guling Shan San Xiu Yao Ranran. Zhou Lili was taken aback and said, What sect is Guling Shan San Xiu? How come I have never heard of it? Okay. You wait for me. I will definitely come back to find you. Zhou Lili pasted a fast-running talisman, swung a long whip, and quickly rolled up several male cultivators to escape from this place. Jiang Xingxiang was dumbfounded. How thick did he hold on to his thighs? Banyan Tree, with a stern expression on his face, said solemnly, So he's a coward, nothing to be afraid of. Yao Ranran did not mock him, but looked regretfully at the fallen shopkeeper's son and sighed, I just want to sell something, why is it so difficult? Boss, don't worry, I'll go wake him up. Speaking of money, Banyan Tree Spirit immediately became energetic. Rong Yi, I'm with you. Jiang Xingxiang followed with a thud. The fainting shopkeeper's son was soon awakened by the beating. He opened a slit in his eyes and vaguely saw 3 figures in front of him. 2 tall and 1 short. He immediately remembered the terrifying incident that had occurred before he fainted and collapsed into a corner with a thud. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Yao Ranran put on a mask and walked up to him with a demon bat cloth bag. We won't kill you. The customer just left, we just want to talk to you about business. The trembling shopkeeper's son's body stiffened for a moment, and he tugged at his swollen face and said, What business are you going to talk to me about? Yao Ranran smiled and said, Look at these new demon bats. How many spirit stones are they worth? Shopkeeper's son extended a trembling palm and said, There are 520 spirit stones on the market. Yao Ranran stuffed the cloth bag into his hand. Deal. The ox cart trembles and trembles. Sent her back home. Fairy Ranran, this cow can only walk here. Jiang Xingxiang turned over and got off the cow. Yao Ranran and Rong Shujing jumped off the car. Thank you very much, that's all you need. Yao Ranran looked at the black cloud rolling mountain peak ahead, and the big yellow ox took a few steps back in fear. You go back, we can handle the rest of the way ourselves, she said softly. Jiang Xingxiang nodded and slowly turned back, holding the cow rope. After walking for a while, he shook his head and muttered to himself, "Is the fairy deliberately doing something? Where can people live in Guling Mountain?" He turned his head and almost scared out his spirit. I saw Yao Ranran, dressed in white clothes, floating in the air and flying straight towards the top of Guling Mountain. How can the fairy fly on the Guling Mountain? Putting aside the suspicion that she is a female ghost, Jiang Xingxiang can only treat her as a god. That's right, she must be the 9 heavens fairy descending to the mortal world. The banyan spirit withdrew the vines, and the sky gradually darkened. The deep green vines were not very clear in the distance. In Jiang Xingxiang's eyes, it was as if they had drifted past out of thin air. The banyan tree spirit looked at the dilapidated Taoist temple and suddenly drooped down. "Boss, why do we have to live here?" Yao Ranran's voice came from the front. "You forget, I was punished by the first true lord of the Wuxiang sect to come here. If I don't live here, once the people of the Wuxiang sect find out, there will be no good outcome. And, most importantly, the original owner was blackened here." According to the development of the novel plot, the demon lord who deeply loved the female protagonist already knew that she had been punished here. Without any accidents, in a few days, someone from the demon realm will come to find her. End of this chapter. Chapter 7, Come Up Now. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7, Come Up Now. Divide the banyan tree spirit into 1 spirit stone, and there are still 468 spirit stones in hand. Adding the original 1300 spirit stones, she has a total of 1768 spirit stones. You can upgrade the blacksmith shop now. Yao Ranran waved to the blacksmith shop and poured out 1000 spirit stones. A burst of white light flashed by, and the blacksmith's shop was upgraded to level 2. A refining blueprint appeared on the anvil. Drawing of ancient appraisal mirror, production materials. A beautiful woman's intimate small mirror, a snow rabbit's tears, a buried spiritual earth for thousands of years, and a blueprint of an ancient appraisal mirror. Is this a reward for upgrading the blacksmith shop? Yao Ranran had some doubts and put away the blueprint. The materials above are not difficult to find. Tomorrow, let Xiao Rong and Xiao Jiang help me collect a copy. She left the blacksmith's shop, laid out the makeshift wooden bed she had purchased, placed her hands on her chest, and lay down on the bed to sleep. The next afternoon, Xiao Rong stood in front of Yao Ranran's door, looking at the reflection on the wooden door. She couldn't help but swallow her saliva and said, "It's so scary. What's the boss doing inside?" Dong 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 dong. As the iron hammer struck one by one, beads of sweat as big as beans slid down Yao Ranran's forehead. After a while, the shadow on the door straightened up. Yao Ranran picked up the small mirror on the anvil and reflected her own appearance. Clear water produces hibiscus, naturally exquisitely crafted. Even though Xinyu took away all her belongings and accessories, she couldn't resist this stunning beauty that was hard to give up, making people sink at a glance. What a brilliant blooming white lotus! Rows of words gradually appeared in the small mirror. Goal. Yao Ranran. Qualification. Holy Lotus. Lingzhen. Water Lingzhen. Cultivation. Practice 1 layer of qi. Why are there a series of question marks at the end? Yao Ranran was stunned for a moment. Is there a problem with the ancient appraisal mirror I refined? Boss, what are you doing inside? Can I come in? A curious voice from Xiaorong came from outside the door. Yao Ranran put away the blacksmith shop and said to the outside, "Come in." Xiaorong ran in happily, and Zhang looked around. Suddenly, he saw Yao Ranran looking at him in a small mirror and asked in confusion, "Boss, why are you looking at me in a mirror?" Target. Banyan Tree Spirit Qualification. General Cultivation. Cultivate 3 layers of Qi Divine Power. Not yet inherited. Yao Ranran took the ancient appraisal mirror into her arms and said calmly, "It's okay, I just want to see what you look like in the mirror." Xiao Rong was taken aback for a moment, shyly rubbing her small hand and saying, "I hate it, I can't be so handsome." "What? I never praised you for being handsome." Yao Ranran shook her head, "At most you are cute. It seems that there is no problem with the ancient appraisal mirror. The problem lies with oneself." Xiaorong didn't see anything unusual in her room and left on her own. Yao Ranran walked out of the Taoist temple and was mesmerized by the rolling black clouds below the mountainside. Maybe the ancient appraisal mirror can tell what these black clouds are. As soon as this idea appeared, she took out the mirror. Evil thoughts black cloud. It is formed by the evil thoughts of demons, ghosts, gods, and humans, with extremely strong killing power and can be purified. Indeed effective. Yao Ranran was overjoyed. At night, Yao Ranran sat cross-legged all night in contemplation. The next morning, Xiaorong lazily stretched out and wiped her eyes with her little green hand, wanting to go down the mountain to play with Xiaojiang. Scared by the scene in front of me, my soul surged. "Boss, you must not die. I will come to save you right away." In the rolling thick black clouds, there was a hint of white clothes faintly visible inside. Yao Ranran quickly threw out the 9 lotus ring and stopped him from rushing in. "I'm fine, these black clouds don't harm me at all." Xiao Rong retreated a few feet in fear, and Yao Ranran walked out of the black clouds. Xiao Rong's pupils dilated and he looked incredulous. "This black cloud eats everything and swallows everyone. How did you survive, boss?" Yao Ranran smiled mysteriously and said, "I have a special aptitude to walk in the dark clouds and not be eroded by them." Xiao Rong looked at the spreading black clouds and took a few steps back. Okay. No wonder the boss is so powerful. It turns out he has a special cultivation qualification. Xiao Rong cannot enter the black cloud, and Yao Ranran cannot take him inside. After discovering that black cloud had no harm to herself, she found the hiding cave of the demon bat king inside black cloud. If she had nothing to do, she would kill the demon bat outside the demon bat king cave for cultivation. 3 days later, Yao Ranran finished killing the last wave of demon bats, collected the 9 lotus ring, and walked to the edge of the black pond. "I always feel like something is flashing inside." "Dad, you've finally passed the level." Zhou Lily rushed forward and hugged the man's arm. Zhou Xingqian had a rosy complexion and a happy expression on his face, indicating an improvement in his cultivation. "I already know about you. I usually ask you to practice more and not go out and play too much. Now you know you're at a disadvantage." Zhou Xingqian said solemnly with a stern face. Zhou Lily looked up and said with a pouted mouth, "Dad, you must avenge me." Zhou Xingqian softened his expression and patted her head, saying, "Of course, my daughter. No one can bully her. Let's go, father. I'll go and catch that person for you." Zhou Lily smiled and whispered, "Yao Ranran, your good days are coming to an end." At 3/4 in the afternoon, the scorching sun was in the sky. Zhou Xingqian and his group bypassed Longyin village and climbed another mountain slope. "Li, are you sure that woman really lives in Guling Mountain?" Zhou Xingqian turned his head skeptically and asked. Zhou Lily stomped his feet and said in a coquettish voice, "Dad, how can you not believe me? I have sent someone to follow Jiang Xingxiang, and Yao Ranran and that little tree spirit live on Guling Mountain." Zhou Xingqian calmed down and said, Okay. As a father, I believe in you. It's just that this Guling Mountain. It's not something that ordinary people can go up to." "Guling Mountain, were you just talking about Guling Mountain?" A gust of wind swept by, and a figure suddenly appeared in front of Zhou Xingqian. The man grabbed Zhou Xingqian's collar and stared at him with a sharp eagle-like gaze. "Tell me, in which direction is Guling Mountain?" A hint of fear flashed in Zhou Xingqian's eyes, and the person in front of him was actually a golden core cultivator. He quickly pointed the way and said, "Keep going straight along this road and you will reach Guling Mountain." The man mercilessly spat out a sentence and left him, "Don't lie to me, otherwise you will die very miserably." The man came and went like the wind, and Zhou Lili reacted and quickly helped Zhou Xingqian up. "Dad, what kind of person is that? Why is it so fast?" Zhou Xingqian looked at the disappearing figure of the man and grabbed Zhou Lili's hand in return, saying urgently, "Quick, let's catch up quickly and see if this person is an enemy or a friend." Amidst the confusion of Zhou Lili, Zhou Xingqian urged his flying sword and quickly followed the man with her. The accompanying disciples of the Bai Lu sect quickly accelerated their pace. Black Pond. The nemesis of living creatures, which can be purified, demon stone. An extremely rare stone that can be used for refining. Yao Ranran looked at the ancient appraisal mirror in her hand and fell into contemplation. The demon stone looks like a good thing. There is only one in such a large black pond. She wants to catch it. Yao Ranran infused spiritual power into her fingertips, and a little white light shone on her fingertips, slowly condensing into a white whip. She swung hard, and the white whip immediately wrapped around the stone in the center of the black pond. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Bring it to you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Bring it to you. At this moment, a strange man holding a no-fly token flew into the mid-air of Guling Mountain. A mere Guling Mountain is nothing. Shen Yuefu is really arrogant, the man said disdainfully. That golden core cultivator can actually fly on the Guling Mountain. Zhou Lili's face was full of surprise. Zhou Xingqian's face was solemn. This person is very likely to be looking for that female cultivator. Yao Ranran raised the corner of her mouth slightly and said, "Demon stone, come up." With a flick of the whip, the stones at the bottom of the pond loosened, and the calm waters around stirred up waves. With a sudden sound, the demonic stone fell into his hands, and a towering wave surged in the center of the black pool. The man had a disdainful expression on his face as he was about to step on the top of the Guling Mountain when a sudden sound of water echoed in his ear. He lowered his head and looked down, his face instantly changing. What thing? Shua, the man transformed into a shooting star and flew away. Zhou Xingqian and his daughter were stunned. Yao Ranran looked up at the sky and muttered, "It seems like I heard the voice of a person just now." However, there is no grass growing on Guling Mountain, and birds are not uncommon to fly over the mountain top. Where would anyone come up? She shook her head and looked towards the small hole deep in the pool. I didn't expect to take away the demon stone and trigger the underground pool water. I don't know how long this water column will spray. At this moment, Xiao Rong, who was eating and drinking at Jiang Xingxiang's house, heard the huge sound of water flowing from Guling Mountain and immediately grabbed the wild fruits on the table and rushed out. What's going on? Did the father and daughter of the Zhou family come over? Xiao Rong held on to the food in her hand. Jiang Xingxiang rubbed his head and looked confused. No, it's a black water column suddenly popping out. Xiaorong let go of her heart and smiled. It's okay then, let's continue eating. Jiang Xingxiang's face was shocked and he said, "Don't even worry about the boss." Xiao Rong took a bite of the fruit and said vaguely, "Yao is the boss who has died. Do you think we can survive in the past?" Jiang Xingxiang patted his head and suddenly realized, Rong Yi is right. It seems that the male cultivator is a friend rather than an enemy. Zhou Xingqian said solemnly. Dad. Do we still have to find a way to trick Yao Ranran out? Zhou Lili looked at the distant meteor and swallowed. Zhou Xingqian turned around and said earnestly, Lili, when I was still young as a father, I was preparing to go out and experience. Your grandmother reminded me a word, do you know what it is? Zhou Lili was taken aback for a moment and said, what did my grandmother tell my father? Zhou Xingqian shook his head and his face was full of memories. Your grandmother said. Beautiful women are tigers, and roses always have thorns. When you encounter them, you must avoid them. Lily, let's go back home. Zhou Lily. A few days later. Yao Ranran tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. How could I sleep when I thought that the demon cultivator who should have appeared had not yet lured me into the demon realm? And the daughter of the sect leader who must come back, Zhou Lily. Who? Shallow snoring sounded, and the Guling Mountain Taoist temple was peaceful. Demon City. The Dark Demon Palace. Lord Demon. A group of wandering souls rolled in with a gurgling sound. Li Luoqi was dressed in a black robe, towering above the purple and golden throne, with cold and passionate red eyes. Yuan Ke Protector, I only sent you on a trip to the East Wilderness, why did you end up looking like this ghost? The soul called Yuan Ke floated up and said with a bitter face, Lord Demon Lord, the heavenly way does not protect us. As soon as I arrived at the forbidden area of the Guling Mountain, I collided with the black pool below and erupted, instantly destroying my physical body. Fortunately, I was protected by a secret technique, otherwise I would have destroyed all my divine souls and had no chance to see Lord Demon again. Li Luoqi coldly glanced at him and said, Before you left, I observed the fortune of your trip and it should have been smooth sailing. How could you have ended up like this? Has innocence changed? Li Luoqi suddenly lifted his hand and looked up at the sky outside. The clear and pure sky, except for a slightly bluer and clearer one than usual, did not produce any anomalies. Well, let me personally go on the trip to Donghuang once. Perhaps due to going to bed late yesterday, Yao Ranran did not wake up quickly this morning. She didn't wake up until the warm sun shone through the crack in the door. She opened the door and the sun was already very high. A master surnamed Lu once said, Don't blame yourself for sleeping in, after all, you can't create any miracles even if you wake up early. After saying these words, something intangible burden dissipated from her heart. Yao Ranran revealed her first smile of the day. Longyin Village. The Jiang family. Grandma Zhang shook her head in fear of the extremely enthusiastic group in front of her. Zhou Xingqian and Zhou Lily looked at her appearance, but their fear was even greater than hers. Grandma Zhang, it was our mistake. It was my lack of discipline that led Lily to make such a big mistake. Please let Jiang Xingxiang come out and meet us. I came here today with Lily just to ask him and Rongyi to forgive us. Grandma Zhang shook her head without a pause, muttering repeatedly, I don't know anything, Xiang'er is not inside, and Xiaorong has never come here to play. Zhou Xingqian saw this situation and took the treasure box from the disciple beside him, revealing a translucent pearl that illuminated Grandma Zhang's ever-changing eyes. I don't know anything. Xiang'er is not inside, and Xiaorong has never been here before. Grandma Zhang's wide eyes quickly narrowed again. Zhou Lily couldn't help but feel anxious. Dad, aren't they really not here? Did we find the wrong place? Before Zhou Xingqian could speak, a slender deep green vine swiftly snatched away the precious pearl from his box with lightning speed. Rongyi, don't. A faint voice came from the corner of the inner room wall. Zhou Xingqian's eyes lit up, and he quickly ordered someone to donate the other two treasures. He loudly said, Please accept these two treasures, Mr. Rong and Mr. Jiang, and forgive my daughter for her mistake that day. Zhou Lily followed him and knelt down on one knee. Bring it to you. The deep green vine swept across the entire venue without hesitation, not even letting go of the emerald green jade pendant hanging from Zhou Lily's waist. That's my personal jade pendant. Zhou Lily could only watch helplessly as the jade pendant flew away. This must be a trap. I, Jiang Xingxiang, will never believe you. Xiao Jiang, this jade pendant is for you. The boss has always been fair in distributing spirit stones. Okay, I believe they are sincere. Zhou Xingqian and his daughter twitched at the words. Two figures, one tall and one short, walked out of the inner room. Zhou Xingqian quickly said, "Rong Yi, Jiang Yi, the leader of Biliu's sect apologized to you with the ignorant little girl. Please forgive us, Fairy Ranran." "Okay, I forgive you all." Xiao Rong proudly crossed her waist. Jiang Xingxiang was shocked and said, "Are you forgiving them now?" Zhou Xingqian and his daughter quickly thanked him. "Rong Yi and Jiang Yi are magnanimous. Ranran Fairy is magnanimous." Jiang Xingxiang looked at their happy departure and blushed with regret. "Lord Rong, how could you just forgive them like this? Why not make an extra mistake?" Xiao Rong looked innocent and said, "We can't beat them. Didn't you say this is a trap? The boss isn't here, and I'm worried they might see a loophole and hit us hard." Jiang Xingxiang's regretful expression froze in place. "You're right, we can only rely on the leader's authority to show off." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Demon Lord Comes Personally. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Demon Lord Comes Personally, Yin Pearl. The controller can control the mother pearl to know its position, containing a large amount of essence, fear, and resentment, mostly owned by the demon blood servant. Yao Ranran put down the ancient appraisal mirror, lightly tapped her white fingertips, and the black bead in her hand immediately closed her eyes, shedding a drop of blood and tears and sliding onto the broken floor tile. Careless, this bead has a surveillance effect, and there is someone behind it manipulating this blood servant. Yao Ranran lifted the ancient appraisal mirror and took another look. Yin Pearl. Damaged, containing a large amount of essence, fear, and resentment, mostly owned by the demonic blood servant. Longyin village, as well as the nearby abandoned villages, used to be deliberately released by someone who sucked away the villagers' essence, causing them to die. This is a long-planned conspiracy. What exactly happened 100 years ago, and why did the people behind it focus on Longyin village and even nearby villages? Yao Ranran frowned and pondered. A creaking sound sounded outside the door. Xiao Rong happily ran in. "Boss, look what I've brought you." Before Yao Ranran could turn her head, a glow hit her face, flickering in her eyes. The dim and dilapidated Taoist temple suddenly brightened up. Yao Ranran effortlessly took out the ancient appraisal mirror. Deep Sea Pearl. Produced by millennium-old clam spirit, it has the effect of calming the mind and calming the mind. It is said that the emitted light can ward off evil spirits and drive away demons. Boss, and these two treasures." Xiao Rong threw out two vines, holding two treasure boxes on them. The ancient appraisal mirror moved slightly and shone on the two treasure boxes. Shuling water. The essence and blood of Shuling beast. Heavenly fire liquid. A liquid spark extracted from rare and exotic fires. Yao Ranran's water-spirited eyes flickered with colorful light, and she wondered, "Where did you get these things from?" Xiao Rong straightened her chest and proudly said, "It was someone from the Bai Lu sect who came to apologize and delivered it. The boss was not there, so I took these things away and gave Xiao Jiang a jade pendant." "What jade pendant?" "Zhou Lily's personal jade pendant." "What?" Yao Ranran covered her head and collapsed. Even if she hadn't looked at the jade pendant with an antique appraisal mirror, she could roughly tell that it was extraordinary and definitely not weaker than these three treasures. Xiao Rong surprisingly gave it to Jiang Xingxiang so easily. "Boss, why did you use your head to hit the pillar? The building here is too old. If the pillar is damaged, we will have to pay an extra fee." Xiao Rong's slightly curled eyebrows twisted into a ball and advised very seriously. Yao Ranran calmed down. Coincidentally, she needed the power of the Bai Lu sect, and there was a hidden enemy waiting behind her to move. She wants to save her own life and solve this problem. "Xiao Rong, I want to meet with the leader of Biliu's sect." Xiao Rong was shocked and turned pale. "Boss, haven't you forgiven them yet? I won't return the treasure." In the blink of an eye, 3 treasures disappeared and were all swallowed by him. Hiccup, Yao Ranran let out a full burp. Yao Ranran's head was covered in black lines. I won't kill him, someone is going to kill us. Hiccup, almost hiccup. Yao Ranran rushed forward and quickly used the Heimlich emergency method to expel the deep-sea pearl that choked on Xiaorong from the body. I need Lord Zhou's help to investigate what happened in Longyin village 100 years ago. Xiaorong, who had regained vitality, nodded faintly. Time flies, and 3 more days have passed. Yao Ranran received a message from Lord Zhou. 100 years ago, there was a wandering Taoist who came to Longyin village and became blind in one eye. He claimed to be the left-blind Taoist. The left-blind Taoist stayed in Longyin village for 7 days, providing free fortune-telling and medical treatment for the villagers. Until the afternoon of the 7th day, he visited the Sun family that had not yet disappeared, and the next morning, he left Longyin village. On the night of his departure, the Sun family disappeared without a trace. According to Lord Zhou's speculation, it is highly likely that the strange curse in Longyin village was caused by this wandering Taoist. Dongwang is not as good as Zhongzhou, and public security is very chaotic, Yao Ranran thought so. The left-blind Taoist may be an evil cultivator. The people of the Sun family did not disappear, but were refined into blood servants by him. More than 100 years have passed, and this left-blind Taoist doesn't know how advanced his cultivation has been. Yao Ranran looked at the vast array of deep-sea pearls in the courtyard, closed the window frames, and turned back to the makeshift wooden bed. A cool evening breeze brushed past, and the window frames were opened again. A wicked and handsome face rushed into Yao Ranran's eyes. You're not blind. Her pupils trembled. Has the left-blind Taoist come to seek revenge? Li Luoqi's smile stiffened at the corner of his eyes. No, you're not the left-blind Taoist. Yao Ranran quickly reacted and pushed the 9 lotus ring behind her back. The demonic face, the majestic aura of a king, and the unrestrained smile at the corner of his mouth. He is the demon lord. Li Luoqi gave her a frivolous glance, elegantly brushing his sleeves to wipe away the dust around him. His voice was deep and magnetic. Yao Ranran, does it feel good to fall from the altar into the abyss? The first fairy of Zhongzhou, despite her beauty, couldn't help but love her. She was sent back to this endless prison by Shenyu, which really makes people laugh. Yao Ranran, do you want to stay here for a lifetime and watch yourself slowly die of old age? Yao Ranran nodded. Since you don't want to. Li Luoqi's prepared haughty posture froze for a moment. Why do you nod? Do you understand what I'm saying? I understand. Yao Ranran glanced at him with a disdainful expression and quickly changed her mind to read out the plot. Shenyu has treated me so ruthlessly, and I will never spare the 2 of them lightly. Pei Xianxiao doesn't deserve someone I can't get. Li Luoqi's face showed a smile rather than a smile, just because you are also worthy of being compared to delicacy. Lord Demon, have you come here in person with a spirit stone in your hand? Yao Ranran scanned his whole body without any blind spots. The conversation turned too quickly, and Li Luoqi looked at her vivid appearance at the moment, with a cold gleam in her eyes. With your current useless body, you can't even compare to Pei's delicate finger. What are you using to seek revenge? Yao Ranran clenched the corner of her sleeve and said stubbornly, the demon lord's words are wrong. Revenge may not necessarily be solved by force. Li Luoqi suddenly felt a sense of disgust in her heart. She picked up her delicate minibus with one hand and said, Yao Ranran, do you think having the most beautiful appearance in Zhongzhou can easily seduce men and make them go through life and death for you? I will only say this once. Shen Yuefu's ability is not as simple as you imagine. He flicked his hand over Yao Ranran's chin and twisted her head at an angle with force. Yao Ranran secretly slandered herself. With a bang, he twisted his head around. In the deep night, it appears somewhat eerie. Li Luoqi's lips twitched unintentionally. End of this chapter. Did you bring the spirit stone in chapter 10? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did you bring the spirit stone in chapter 10? Lord Demon, have you brought any spirit stones with you on this trip? Yao Ranran asked sincerely. According to the original plot, Li Luoqi's first reaction upon learning that Yao Ranran had been punished to Guling Mountain was to send someone to pull her into the demon realm. At this moment, Yao Ranran in the novel was completely lost in thought, and without hesitation, she took on the cultivation techniques brought by the demon cultivation. Magic cultivation has always been extremely fast, and it didn't take long for the original body to recover its previous cultivation. She left Guling Mountain and found her biological father who had abandoned her. With the help of her father's power, she returned to the Wuxiang sect and once again opposed the female protagonist. But hatred blinded her eyes and made her ignore the drawbacks brought by the magic technique, let alone the cultivation method that Li Luoqi sent someone to give her, which was a carefully selected child-mother magic technique. Unconsciously, the original body had become a puppet of Li Luoqi. Her daily cultivation skills are transmitted to Li Luoqi through her body. The original body knew nothing about this. As she became increasingly dependent on this magical skill, Li Luoqi also became stronger. In the later stage, the original body was just a container for Li Luoqi to store magic energy. As the master of magic skills, he could pick the mature fruit cultivated by this magic skill at any time. You keep asking me if I have a spirit stone on my body and plan to use it to kill Shen Yuefu. Li Luoqi's eyebrows were a bit impatient. Yao Ranran opened her mouth and exclaimed in surprise, "That's my dream. Who wouldn't want to be killed by money? Even if you die, there is still a smile on the corner of your mouth." Li Luoqi suddenly swung his sleeve upwards, the window lattice closed with a snap, and the little Rong in the opposite room rolled over, with a hint of crystal-clear liquid hanging from the corner of her mouth, sleeping soundly. "Yao Ranran, I see you're being fooled here. What nonsense are you talking about?" Yao Ranran looked up and looked directly at him. "The former Yao Ranran has died, and now standing in front of you is the little fairy Nyo Kelu Yao Ranran. Sha sha sha. Pa." A strong wind rose from the flat ground, and Yao Ranran was pushed by an invisible force to the foot of the bed, sitting obediently, unable to speak or move, only staring at him with staring eyes. Li Luoqi withdrew his power and elegantly covered his hand in his wide robe, spitting out softly, "I see you're crazy, I need a magic skill to save you." Pa. A book fell on the bed. Yao Ranran looked over and saw several large characters written on the book. Counterattack of waste materials. Anti-heavenly magic skill. Yao Ranran gently bit her lower lip, trying to resist the urge to laugh out loud. Li Luoqi caught a glimpse of her slightly trembling shoulders, and a heart-wrenching evil smile curved from the corner of her mouth. "The prey is hooked. I know that you will not be willing to be trapped here for a lifetime. This is my secret skill that will not be passed down. As long as you can obtain it, returning to building the foundation in 30 days is not a dream." Yao Ranran blinked. This statement is so familiar, just like how she used to deceive Xiao Rong. She looked up at him and said, "Lord Demon, I hate Shen Yuefu, but I hate Demon Xiu even more. In my life, Yao Ranran, I am incompatible with Demon Xiu and Huang gambling." What? How to treat madness? Li Luoqi secretly thought that he came late. "Yao Ranran, do you really want to stay here for your whole life, watching your face slowly age and your life run out?" Yao Ranran showed a hesitant expression. "As if he had moved me." Li Luoqi's eyebrows smiled again. "Sure enough, no one can escape the threat of birth, aging, illness, and death. She's scared. I am in a good mood today. Seeing that you have good qualifications and a firm heart, you are a genius in refining demons. I will give you this magic skill as a gift." "I don't want it." Yao Ranran shook her head. Li Luoqi squeezed his hands tightly in his sleeves, with a stiff smile on his face, and said word by word, you, want, how, talented, willing, accept, it. Unless. Yao Ranran glanced at him, occasionally glancing at his waist, wanting to explore something, but timidly withdrew her gaze. Li Luoqi released his fist and sensed her meaning, I have brought a spirit stone today. As expected. The woman's eyes lit up before her. Although the bright light flickered away, he did not miss it. Li Luoqi reached into her arms and her facial expression froze for a moment. Oh no, this trip is too hasty. Coming here is not within the plan. I don't have many spiritual stones in my arms, and I don't know if I can take her. He gritted his teeth and looked at the woman in front of him with a faint hopeful expression. He moved an item from the cashier's ring and placed it on the bed along with the spirit stone. Looking at the small number of spirit stones, Yao Ranran's expression subtly changed, and her gaze at Li Luoqi seemed to be saying something, is that all? Li Luoqi received her message and coughed in order to maintain the dignity of the demon lord. He used his magic energy to suspend an object in the void and said, the purpose of a spirit stone is nothing more than to purchase cultivation supplies. This is the demon abyss essence. Bringing it with you when practicing magic skills can increase your cultivation speed. This item is hard to find for $1,000. I only have this one piece in my hand. In the last two sentences, he deliberately emphasized the rarity of the demon soul. Yao Ranran stared at Mo Ming Sui for a while and thought to herself, it seems that he only brought these spirit stones over. Although the role of Mo Ming Sui is insignificant, it can sell at a high price in the black market, and this transaction is not a loss. Li Luoqi stared at her gaze, but could not see any effective information in these watery eyes. In an instant, Yao Ranran bared her teeth and showed a fierce expression. Shenyu has destroyed my cultivation and cut off my path of cultivation. He still wants to live and sleep with Pei Xianxiao, loving her forever. I can't bear it. I want revenge. I want to kill them. I want to practice magic skills and let Xin Yuefu and Pei Xianxiao crawl at my feet. The atmosphere is very quiet. The man in front of him seemed unaffected by her harsh words at all. Li Luoqi's face remained calm. Yao Ranran couldn't help but doubt whether her acting skills were not as excellent as she had imagined, and it seemed that she still couldn't reach the level of a movie queen. She silently withdrew the small award certificate she had given herself as a queen of the film. Li Luoqi gave her a faint glance and said in his heart, I just thought her expression was a bit cute. I am definitely affected by her madness. This place is not suitable for staying for a long time. Enough, keep the item here. I hope next time I see you again, you have successfully formed the pill. The window lattice opened without wind, and Li Luoqi turned around gracefully, transforming into a black mist and disappearing into the darkness. Pa! Close the window lattice. The spirit stone in Yao Ranran's hand fell to the ground, covering her undulating chest and saying, this guy hasn't left yet. He just couldn't suppress his love for the spirit stone. It seems he saw it. However, it's not a problem. She threw herself into the spirit stones that filled the bed and freely roamed inside. After a while, she grabbed the demon soul in one hand and the demon art book in the other, poking her head out of the pile of spiritual stones. Mo Ming Sui, Zmo Gong, I don't know how to practice it. End of this chapter.